All right, before we get the show started, I have to give a huge shout out to a special group of individuals that I like to call my Patreon podcast producers. And you know what? They're all on Instagram, so make sure you give them a follow. Daryl at Your Level Fitness, Kaitlyn at Kaitlyn Elise, put 3 Y's in her name, Crystal at Reduced Fat Mama, Joey at Joey Losing Weight, Vanessa at Vanessa Ray's Journey, and Amanda at Mutts_and_miles. These guys are helping this show to move forward in a huge, huge way. And if you want to join this special group of individuals, make sure you stay tuned at the very end of the show for more details. Are you Team Apple? I got to shout out all of you checking out this show right now on an iPhone, iPad, etc. In fact, nearly 70% of you are listening to me on one of these devices. It would mean the world to me if you took a moment to leave a review. This is one of the best things that you can do for this podcast to help get the word out. And while you're at it, leave reviews for some of your other favorite shows. I bet they would really dig it. How is your day going so far?
It's been super long.
I hear you. What time do you get up in the morning?
Well, I don't want to get up, but I have been waking up around 4 a.m. for whatever reason. And unlike you with your new routine, I will not get up and go to the gym. I will just continually lay there.
Hey, I
just can't get the motivation to get up and go to the gym, even though I've done it before and it makes me feel great, but I just can't get there.
I'll tell you the secret for me. I was actually telling somebody else as they asked me about it, like, you know, how do you do that? It's going to sound really simple. I mean, the mindset is completely different, but as far as like actually like physically making your body get up, I have like 2 or 3 alarms. I have one on my phone. I have one on my iPad. And so what I'll do is I'll put my iPad on the other side of the room to where I have to get up to turn it off. Because if not, my wife's going to reach over and clobber me right in the head if I don't turn that thing off. So I'll put it on the complete opposite side of the room. And I have to get up. I have no choice. So at that point, hey, I'm already up. I mean, how many times have you, or even the listeners listening, how many times have you guys woken up, let's just say 2 or 3 a.m. You had to, you know, Mother Nature was calling. You went to the restroom and you're like, well, damn, I'm just up now. Like, what am I supposed to do now? Right.
Right.
It's kind of the same idea.
Yeah, I know. Like when I was in college, my college roommate actually had an alarm clock that was a rooster crowing.
Yeah.
And she left it across the room, and it was the most obnoxious thing. So, of course, like we were always up because it was like, turn that god awful thing off.
Oh, I can imagine. And I would imagine probably at that time you were probably getting up a little bit later, like you didn't have to be up as early as she did, or.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. That's funny. Yeah. I used to troll my wife. Like I would put on like annoying ringtones, like songs. And so the songs in general were not that bad. Like she actually liked some of them, but the more and more they would play every morning, the more and more she would hate them. Like I had oddball ringtones, like the Rocky theme or the Perfect Strangers theme for whatever reason, other than I love that show. And so just different things that would play. And now like if she hears it, it's like a trigger. She just wants to beat me up.
Well, I think actually I woke up this morning to, if you remember the song Duncan Sheik, Barely Breathing. That was the one that woke me up this morning.
I love that song.
Yeah. That's good one. Good. An oldie, but a goodie.
I know. I miss the days of like these songs, like there was a time where, and I think we're around the same age or very close, where, CDs were much more popular, and radio. So it's like you'd hear something, you didn't have your phone where you could say, "Hey Siri, what is this song?" Like you had to
Right.
it was like a mystery. Like you would try to like track it down and figure out what it was. And I remember that song being one of those things that I want to say, when I used to get up in the morning for high school, I would have MTV on in the background. Cheesy, I know, but they would play the videos early in the morning. And that was one of the, and
Right.
I was always in the bathroom, like doing my hair or whatever, or just coming out of the shower, and I'd hear the song. I'm like, what is that song? And every time I would run out, it'd be over and I wouldn't know who it was or whatever. But I do have a connection with that song.
And you had
for
to
sure.
remember lyrics, and then you had to search. It was like a never ending thing.
Oh my God. Yeah. You'd have to like ask somebody like, "Hey, have you ever heard that song?" It goes, "I am barely breathing." Yeah, like, it's like, like who does that nowadays? It doesn't happen anymore. You just have your phone and
No.
you can either sing into your phone, like Shazam does that now, where you can actually sing it, the words, or you can just do a Google search for the words, or in Apple Music now, you can start typing out the lyrics and it will let you search by lyrics, which is just insane.
Yeah, I have like the Google Pixel phone, so of course, like it just immediately will recognize and tell you immediately. It's crazy. Technology's come so far.
Oh, you're one of those Google people. Where's the hang up button here? Let me see if I can find this hang up button. I'm kidding.
I'm not an Apple girl. I'm an Android girl.
Oh, come on. What can I do to change your mind?
Probably nothing.
Did you have one before and you just didn't like it, or you just never went that way before?
No, I've just never wanted one. And it's funny because some of my coworkers have Apple products, and actually when they see my phone and my pictures, they're like, wow, like they're even impressed. I'm like, I'm telling you, like Google has really stepped up their game. They're pretty rad.
You're absolutely right. I've seen some of I'm one of these guys that like, I'll watch tech videos on YouTube, like shout outs to like MKBHD and everything Apple Pro and all these people that do all the tech reviews, Flossie Carter. And I'll see these test photos and like, they're amazing. I mean, Samsung stepped up their game, especially the Pixel. I think the Pixel is, as far as like, if you're an Android person, you probably really want to be looking at the Pixel, because I think it's creeping up closer and closer to Samsung.
Yeah, it's pretty. I've had Samsung in the past, and I used to be like strictly Samsung girl. And then I got my first Pixel last year,
right,
and loved it. And then upgraded this year and like really loved it. So now like my kids have Google phones, I have one. So it's just, I guess we've become an Android family.
All right. Well, I'm telling you right now, if our paths ever cross, we're going to have a phone-to-phone shootout, because this new iPhone 11 Pro Max is pretty legit. I'm just going to say.
I've been seeing your photos. So we'll see what happens.
And hey, that's Instagram compressing them just a little bit, because they like to throw their little compression on it. But I'll show you one actually from the camera on the phone. I'm telling you, it's going to be very close to what you got cooking there. So just be on the lookout for that.
Okay, I'm gonna keep my eyes open.
We're actually not too far away. I see here on your profile that you are in North Carolina.
I am. I think, and you're in what? Richmond, is it, or?
I'm up closer to DC, but I mean, we're talking like a 4 or 5 hour. When I say close, like I have friends in California, friends in Ohio, friends in Florida. Those are far away. Like North Carolina, my buddy and I, like we were just down there about a month ago to go to Carowinds over in Charlotte. So in that general direction.
I saw that.
Yeah, what area are you in? What general area, let's say, I guess?
I'm about an hour from Charlotte. I'm in the Triad area, so like Greensboro, High Point area.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've been through Greensboro before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever made it over to Carowinds, but that's a pretty badass place, let me tell you.
Yeah, I went a long time ago. I don't want to tell you this because I know how you are, but I'm much like Kate. I'm not gonna do a roller coaster. That is not my jam. I'm horrified of heights like that. No, like even speaking about it, like I'm having heart palpitations.
So what you're telling me, Tammy, I think this is code word, and listeners help me out. I think what Tammy's trying to tell me is, hey, Gary, the next time you're in Charlotte, I want you to send me a DM like a week or two out, and I want you to invite me to Carowinds, and we're going to ride like Fury or Intimidator or something. Cause I got this little itch to scratch as far as overcoming my fear of roller coasters. Is that what I heard, Tammy? I just want to make sure.
I am so like, and it's so funny because when I was younger, like I was such a daredevil, like I would have been more apt to do that. But now that I'm older, I feel like I know better. So I'm just like, no, absolutely not. Like that is not going to happen.
I will tell you though, okay, whether you ride it or not, I will tell you this, that, that park in particular has some of the most comfortable rides. So many of these coasters, and I don't care. And this is not just, hey, I'm a bigger guy kind of thing. Like I have a buddy of mine, he's in much better shape than I am. And even for him, some of these seats on some of these rides can be a little bit snug. But these coasters over there at the Carowinds, let me tell you, the Fury 325 and the Intimidator, they have what's called a clamshell restraint. So all you have to do is put on a seatbelt, and you've got this little clamshell that comes down in between your legs, and you can pull it as tight or as loose as you want it, really. And it is the most comfortable ride ever. So just imagine, like, not that any of us would ever go speeding in our cars down the road, but let's just imagine if you were. I mean, just how smooth the acceleration is and all that stuff, but only you're climbing up a hill and then you're going down a hill. But I'm telling you right now, Tammy, it's super smooth. And I have a feeling that one of these days, maybe you're going to DM me and say, hey, Gary, when's the next time you're coming? Because I got to tell you, I'm thinking about it. I'm considering it. And maybe, just maybe, I might do it. It'll change from a never to a might, maybe.
Well, it's funny because I remember the last time I was at Carowinds, which was a long time ago, at least 15 years or so.
Yeah.
I had the incident that we can pretty much all relate to. My friend had talked me into getting on one roller coaster.
Right.
And I got up there and I couldn't get it buckled. And
I see.
so I think that also sticks in the back of my mind. Like that was humiliating. I had to get off. Everyone had to watch me. It was like awful. And then from that point on, that plus add on my fear of heights. Like I've just been like, just a big nope.
Well,
kudos to Kate though. I give her like mad props because she was a champion that day.
Well, she picked one of the bigger ones, which I was surprised. I mean, I would have settled for a much smaller one. But I mean, be honest, like, what do you think is it more the fear of the heights, or more do you think that internal struggle of, even though, and I mean, I'm looking at your pictures, you've made phenomenal progress. We're going to talk all about this, but like, be honest, is it really the fear of having trouble getting on it, or is it really the heights? I mean, what is it really?
I do not like a drop. Like I just like any kind of ride that has that like just intense drop, like gives me like just like to you guys it's like adrenaline, but to me it's like the worst thing that could possibly ever happen.
Fair enough. So, I understand.
I don't get that adrenaline rush. I mean, maybe I would.
Oh, see, look at that.
I mean, it's funny because like when I started this whole process, one of my things was, in regards to health and fitness, was anytime I want to say no, I'm going to say yes.
Ah, yes.
And, just to make myself do things. I mean, even this podcast, like all day today, you have no idea. Like I've been super stressed. Like I'm sitting here in front of me and I've written down notes just in case, I forget things. Like I'm such a like anal retentive person, but like, I mean, it's just, that's just the kind of person I am, but like, it's just funny. Like, I mean, I would probably give it my best shot, but I can't guarantee that I wouldn't cry like a big old baby.
Well, now you see, about 5 minutes ago, you had almost made it sound like you were never ever going to do it. And within 5 minutes, I almost got this ice to break. You see what we're doing here? This is my trick. I lure you on, and then I make you believe in yourself and overcome your fears. How about that one?
Okay, yeah, it's all about you, Gary. You rock.
No, I'm terrible. No. um, what is actually your biggest fear? Is it heights or is it something else? Like your biggest fear ever?
I mean, I guess it depends on what we're talking about, but I guess like my biggest fear is just like losing a loved one, or I've always had this fear that I'm going to die in a fire. I know this is like very morbid,
No, I
but
understand.
I've just been always like very fearful. Like I'm one of those people that's like unplugging everything through the house and like, like kind of OCD about it. But like those are probably, or, me passing away and not being there for my family. I mean, I'm a single mom. So of course, these are the kind of things that run through my head constantly, but I tend to be an overthinker.
No, I totally
I don't
understand.
know if anyone can relate to that, but yeah, I'm an overthinker. Like I think things like I'm a worst case scenario person.
I have a little bit of that in me. I also have a little bit of OCD in me, which is, God, this is so weird. Like, I'm going to ask you in a minute what your craziest OCD thing is. I'll tell you mine though. I'll share mine. Like things like locking my car door. Like I have the little clicker. I have a remote start on my car, but I have a little clicker. I have to click. So I click it the first time, but then it's almost like as I'm walking away, I almost pretend like I never did it. And so I'll lock it like 2, sometimes 3 more times.
I do too. And I'm going through like mad, like T-fob batteries because I'm catching myself. Like I catch myself like, it's the same thing that you just said. Like I'll be walking away and I mentally know that I've already done it.
Yes.
But it's like I have to click it 2 or 3 more times just to, I guess, ensure that it's not. I mean, I don't know. It's a weird thing. So yeah, I definitely do that one. That's right on up there for me too.
And I mean, hey, we could be running late, but screw it. We got to lock this door 6 times. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
It's crazy. You have any other like really, you have any really like other like unique ones that you do?
Well, I mean, like I said earlier, like I'm a list maker and it doesn't matter what it is. Like,
yeah,
it can be about my day. It can be about this phone call. It can be, I mean, just like, keeping everything in order and organized. Like I'm just very OCD about certain things. Now, if you walked into my house, you'd be like, really? Is she organized? But it's like odd things. Like, okay, for instance, my spice cabinet.
Yes.
Like I want to know like where all my spices are. You know what I mean? Like it's just,
that's fair.
It's kind of silly little things. It's silly little things that like I do, but definitely my number one probably is making lists and writing everything down and knowing what's going on at all times and where I'm supposed to be and that type of thing.
So you've got your day pretty much scheduled out to like the minute or the hour or something.
I do. Like, I mean, and I'm very much a creature of habit. Like, I know I'm working 8 to like 4:30. 4:30, I'm getting my girl. I'm going to walk in. I'm going to change into my gym attire. I'm going to go to the gym from 5:15 to 6:15. When I get home, 6:20, dinner starts. Like, I mean, it's very like, I'm very structured. It's a little crazy, I think.
It probably threw you off when I was like, hey, I'm ready now if you want to go, as opposed to our original agreed upon 6 o'clock time. Like, how much is that messing with you right now? Be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because like, earlier today, I was thinking, okay, like I'm not going to get to the gym because once the call is over, I need to cook dinner. I need to do homework. I need to do this, that, and the other. So on my afternoon break, as you may have seen, like I was like, okay, I'm just going to go outside real quick and get like at least a mile in and, just get some form of activity in today. So, I mean, I'm flexible, but like I do have that like structured, personality where I like, and it's funny because I used to be very spontaneous.
Yes.
So I don't know if it's like where I've gotten older and I just need that structure or I'm not sure, but like, I mean, I used to just be able to pick up and do whatever, like, somebody says, let's go out to dinner. Okay, let's go out to dinner. Like I'll just put that back in the fridge and I'll cook it tomorrow. But that's not how I've aged, I guess you could say.
Well, I will say this before I even say another word, like, thank you so much for like taking time away from the gym and stuff. Like, I would never want to pull anybody away from the gym. So I really appreciate that. I mean, that's huge. Cause you know how much we have our routine.
Yeah.
We want to go to the gym. We want to show up. Cause sometimes if we don't, we feel like we're falling off or something. So I just really want to say thank you before we go any farther
Well,
for
you're
that. 'Cause
welcome.
that's huge.
Well, obviously, I could have gotten up when I was awake this morning at 4 a.m. and I could have went then. So it's really back on me.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've had a few people since I've started posting about this in my DMs asking about it. And other than the alarm trick, I'll just say this, like some people are saying, well, I think this might really help. And I'm like, just try like one day and just see if you like it. And if you don't, then just go back to your regular deal. But I don't know that it is for everybody, but I can definitely see some benefits. Like, before I started going at 4 a.m., like my biggest fears were, number one, okay, it's too early. It's an hour earlier than I'm normally getting up. I was getting up at 4 to be at work by 6:30. Now I'm getting up at 3 to be at the gym by 4. So that's number one. And then number two, it's like, by the end of the day where I record all of my podcasts, like, am I going to be worth anything at this point? And I think, as you could probably tell,
Right.
and the listeners could tell, like I sound like I'm shot out of a damn cannon. So the whole being tired thing is non-existent right now. And so the benefit of this is that I actually have more energy going throughout the day, as opposed to getting up really early, going to work, leaving work, sitting in traffic for an hour and a half, and then going to the gym, putting in half-ass effort because I just feel just awful, and then coming home and I'm still tired. So this is quite the change that I'm seeing. And so I would just tell anybody, at least try it once, see if it makes any difference in the world. And if not, then no harm, no foul.
Well,
Go back to your normal deal.
I definitely, like last year when I started going to the gym, the only time I really had to go was at 5 a.m. So I did start my whole gym life going at 5 a.m. And I totally agree with you because I felt way more energetic throughout the day. Like, I felt like, okay, I've already got one thing knocked off my list. Like, it's one less thing to worry about. And I had a lot more energy. So, like, I do see where you're coming from because, I mean, there's just something about getting those endorphins flowing first thing in the morning that really just sets your day off to a good start. So, I totally agree with that.
Definitely. And one more point about the spontaneity or the predictability that we were kind of at earlier. Like, you've mentioned how as you've grown older, you've definitely started to have a lot more structure and less spontaneity. I think for me, it's kind of been the opposite because I was always like the worrywart. I was always like to a T on time. I mean, my wife and I would get into fights because I would be like, oh my God, we're going to be 5 whole minutes late, things like that. And now, I mean, unless it's somewhere where I've paid money to be there or something, like, for the most part, I am like as spontaneous can be. My buddy's like, hey, you want to go 2 hours drive to Busch Gardens this weekend? Sure, let's do it. Like stuff like that, now is less of a problem. And I think a lot of that is just the way I feel, health wise, and a lot of the changes I've made. And so I'm kind of easing into it. And so you never know, down the line, you might feel more of the spontaneity. You may not. I mean, either way, it all comes down to the person, I think, but also, as you mentioned, single mom. So that's got to play a big role as well, because you've got, a mouth to feed, and you've got to take care of your kids. Yeah, there you go. So,
yeah, I mean, and it's funny because, like, during the week I'm structured. However, on the weekends, I'm kind of more like you on that part. Whereas, I guess it was a month ago, I was like, hey, there's like a ninja gym opening in Raleigh. Yeah. We should go. It would be super fun. Like, I got to meet Jack too while I was down there, which was awesome. And, I love to do spontaneous things on the weekend, but I guess during the week is when I'm more like, okay, we have A, B, C, D, and E. Let's do what we're supposed to do. And like, we all pretty much go to bed at the same time. Like, it's just like, and it's not that I run like, like a prison, but it's just, like, I know, I know what we have to get done. You know what I mean? So I guess it just helps. I think it helps kids too, to have like a structure. Like, I know I'm going to eat at this time. I know that, like, at this time I need to get a shower. I know at this time, this is when we're going to bed, blah, 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 blah. But, I definitely still really enjoy my spontaneous trips. Like, that's one of my like love. Like I love just to go explore new places and, do new things, but not during the week.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I call those school nights, even though I'm 20 years removed from school. There, I just showed my age, but I think about it, and I'm just like, on a weekend, it's fair game. Let's go somewhere, whatever it is. But on the weeknights, I mean, unless it's something I really, really want to do. Like last week, I went to see a wrestling event in DC of all places. So you got to sit through DC traffic and all this other stuff and get home at like midnight. But for something like that, it's like a, once in a lifetime kind of thing. And so I'm like, okay, well, that's okay. But everything else, it's like, all right, I kind of just pick and choose as we go along.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Like how bad do you want to do it type of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So you mentioned you like to take trips. Are you big on traveling? Cause I know me, like I hate, sometimes I almost just hate the area I live in and I'm always wanting to travel. Or are you always somebody that's always like wanted to travel and stuff, or?
I love to travel. I mean, I haven't been out of the U.S. except once, which was just to Mexico.
Yeah.
But I love, last year, I took my kids to DC actually.
Hey.
Kind of on a spontaneous trip, kind of like something different. And I'm constantly taking them just to different places. I want them to be able to experience things that I didn't necessarily get to experience as a child.
Sure.
So, we traveled a lot when I was a kid, but not as much as I have with my children. We take probably like 3 to 4 major trips a year. And then sometimes just like little small weekend getaways. Just, sometimes you need that clarity of just getting away from home and doing something a little different. And it's funny because it kind of goes back to weight loss, because before I started this journey, like on the weekends, I would sleep till noon.
Yeah.
And I had no energy. I didn't want to do anything. And now I'm kind of driving them crazy. Let's go hiking. Let's go to Virginia and go hiking. And they're just like, okay, like it really has changed all of our lives. I think they see me wanting to be more active and go more places and do more things. And a lot of those things I wasn't able to do before I lost, some weight. Like I could have never went on, a 4.5 mile hike, like that just wouldn't have been possible for me. So to do things like that with them, it's just a great joy, and it's a lot of fun. And, one of them likes it better than the other one, but that's how it is with children.
Of course. Yeah. And where you mentioned Virginia, where are you going hiking here in Virginia?
Well, I don't know if you've ever been there, but there's, it's called Grayson Highland State Park.
I have not been there. Where is that near?
So I think it's like right over kind of the border, like from North Carolina. Cause like, I remember we kind of like saw the sign for Virginia, and then it was just kind of like right across. And I will tell you, it is one of the most absolutely stunning places I've ever been. There's actually wild ponies that are just roaming around. And so you're hiking and there's ponies, and, of course you're not supposed to pet them, but being the rebel that I am, of course I did.
That's right.
And so, it's such a beautiful place. I highly recommend, if one of those spontaneous weekends, you should go visit. It's totally worth it.
I'm going to have to check that out. That's probably about at least a 4-hour drive for me, but what the hell? I mean, why not? Right. We're actually wanting to go back. It was just really phenomenal, and the views are just outstanding. And if you had known me 3 years ago, you would be laughing hysterically, because I have never enjoyed the outdoors. I am not an outdoorsy type of girl. And so for me to just want to go hiking and, be in nature, it's just a complete 180 from the person I used to be. So hiking has become one of my most favorite things to do. That's incredible. I know that in the last, I want to say probably 5 or 6 months, like right around when summer started here, I started to really get more adventurous as well. Last summer I really didn't. I was more walking around amusement parks. But this year, for whatever reason, I started like going to the gym less and going to like these state parks more. And they'd have like 5-mile trails or whatever. And I'd go and just go all over those trails. And that was my workout. And that I found to be just really like a freeing, releasing experience where like you can just breathe the fresh air and you're in a good mood and the weather's nice. It just feels really, really good.
Yeah, it truly is. Like I deal a lot with just horrible anxiety, social anxiety, and just internal anxiety, and to be with nature. I mean, I guess it was 2 weeks ago. I took a Wednesday off as a mental health day because I was just feeling very anxious and overwhelmed. And honestly, if I'm being honest, like all I wanted to do that day was sleep. And when I woke up that day, I thought, no, I do not need to lay in this bed. I need to get up and go be active. And I didn't want to go to the gym. So I actually went about 30 minutes down the road to a lake, and that I'd heard was really pretty. And so I started on the trail, and, you know, I had no intention of doing the whole trail. I just thought I'll go for a quick little walk, and that'll be that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And it was 7.5 miles, and I did the whole thing. And
that is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, and that was the day I actually, I know several people saw this video, but when I finished, I was sitting in the car sobbing because it was like such a release. And I look at, you know, I don't look at working out now as for losing weight. I look at it as therapy.
Yes.
Because it really like clears my head. It gets my mind back to where it needs to be. And I was crying because I was proud of myself, number one. And number two, I could not believe that I did that. Like I was just sitting there like stunned at, oh my gosh, like I actually just did that. Like me, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I still struggle thinking I'm not able, I'm not capable, I can't do these things. You know, that mentality is still kind of playing over and over and over. And I'm trying to shake it, but, you know, just
to the best of us.
Yeah, just to complete something. I mean, I know, you know, but, you know, just to complete something big, there's such a, you know, presence of being proud of yourself that it's overwhelming. So I really enjoy being with nature now. I mean, it's so peaceful, and it just provides such clarity.
Oh, 100%. I know. And doing big things. I was last April 2018 here in Virginia. They had a 5K run. It was the first one I ever did. And I remember just being emotional thereafter because the thought of, you know, paying to go running and then completing the race for somebody like me that sat around and just ate bags full of McDonald's sandwiches, it's quite the change, you know?
Well, and of course, you know, now I've signed up for the Flying Pig.
Uh-oh. Look out.
And and of course, we need to discuss this in length here for a second.
Let's
because
do it.
I'm hearing tell that some people, I won't name names, have decided to do the 5K instead of the 10K. And I signed up for the 10K, and I don't want to do this alone. So we need to know who's doing the 10K now, because I'm like, I don't want to be the only one doing the 10K this year.
Well, don't listen to Daryl and all of his people. There are many of us who are doing the 10K, I'll have you know. And in fact, there are some of us that he labels as crazy or insane that are actually doing both the 10 and the 5, which I am a part of that crazy group.
Crazy. So, I mean, I'm definitely a little nervous. Like, I've actually never done a 5K, so I've definitely never done a 10K. So I'm definitely already like having anxiety about like, am I going to be able to do this?
Sure.
Like, am I going to? Yeah, I know. Like, so, and I actually went this weekend and bought my first legit pair of running shoes, and I was telling the girl there that I was training for a 10K, and
Yeah.
she's actually from Ohio, and she was like, "Oh no," she was like, "Do not do the 5. You have to do the 10." She was like, "You will be so proud of yourself. Like, it's such a huge accomplishment." And so she kind of like got my mind back to, okay, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to do it. Blood, sweat, and tears. Like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to do it. So,
Well, I'll tell you this, the 10K, what I love about it also, in addition to just being a great, just a general great accomplishment, is that you actually get to see 2 states across this race. So you start in Ohio, you run into Kentucky, and then you run back into Ohio. So, I mean, hey, how many times can you say you saw 2 states during a race?
right. That's really cool. And I mean, I remember watching you, and I feel like I'm name dropping a lot, but
It's
I feel
fine.
I was watching I was watching you, and I was watching Emily last year.
Yeah.
Going live from the 10K, and I was like crying because I was like so proud of all of you.
Oh, thank
And
you.
so I thought this year, I was like, okay, I want to be there. I want to meet my IG friends, of course. And
Yes.
I was like, and I want to do that. Like, I want to have that sense of accomplishment and that sense of pride that, like you say, when you think about before your weight loss started, that's not something that I would have ever dreamed of, ever. I mean,
Yes.
that type of thing would have never crossed my mind. I mean, in fact, I remember saying to a lot of my friends at the time, like, I hate working out. Like, that's not for me. Like, I'm just not one of those health and fitness people. And now I'm one of those people. So it's funny how your mindset can change so quickly.
It is really incredible, and the other thing I'll say about the race, and then we'll start diving into like the origin of your journey. But this is an amazing race. This is the first time that I ever did it. Was this year. It is the Flying Pig. If you Google Flying Pig or go to flyingpigmarathon.com, you can check it out. You can sign up, and I have a discount code. Now I make $0.00. I'm helping to promote these guys for the love of it, and also that I want to show them we have a lot of people listening as well. That's the selfish part of it. But I don't make a dime off of this. 10% off your registration by using the code Gary10. Check it out and sign up. Join Tammy, join me, Daryl, Emily, Crystal, Willie. Everybody's going to be there. Everybody's going to be there. So come on down. It's going to be a good time.
And sign up for the 10K, you guys.
Yes, sign up for the 10K. Code Gary10. The prices are going to go up soon, so register right now. Just stop what you're doing. If you're even remotely thinking about it, just book the damn ticket and let's go. Let's party, okay? Let's party.
Yeah, let's get it on.
Exactly. I mean, but we're talking about all these things. You thought you would never be able to do this and that, so we should really go back. I mean, I know we're like 40 minutes into this thing. You wouldn't believe how long we've been doing this now. But we should really go back to the beginning of all of this and kind of like what got you in the position that you wanted to start your journey and stuff like that. So let's go to the origin of it and tell me about kind of like, the start of all this.
Well, it's kind of a weird thing. It was last January, January 2nd, actually, 2018. And it was not a resolution. I don't make resolutions. But I remember waking up that morning and I don't know what clicked. And I say this a lot to people that are, asking me, how do you, where's your motivation come from? It's just an internal thing that happens for each individual person. There's not, there's not some special thing that you can go, oh, okay, like I'm just gonna, lose all this weight. Like it just, for me, I woke up and I felt tired.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, I am so sick of being tired all the time. Like I'm tired. I can't keep up with my children. Like I felt like a bad mom. Like I couldn't go out and play basketball with my son without feeling like I was dying. And I think I only have like 6 stairs at the front of my house, and like literally just walking up 6 stairs would wind me. And so with that, and then in late 2017, I had went through a really bad breakup, and I just was completely unhappy with myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't like where I was mentally, and I didn't like where I was physically. And I've never been one of the yo-yo dieters. I've only ever once tried to diet, which was in 2016, and I had lost 25 pounds, but I wasn't doing it the way I'm doing it now. I was doing it just by going and excessively working out, and I didn't know anything about nutrition.
Yeah.
So that had been the only time in my life that I'd actually tried to quote unquote diet. So last year, something clicked in my brain and was like, okay, I'm going to change my life, and I'm going to do it before I'm 40. And so the way I started was I knew if I started with exercise, I would quit. So as they say, it starts in the kitchen.
Yes.
I ate out. If I'm estimating, I would say I ate out 5 to 10 times a week.
I can relate.
I made a goal of, I'm sorry?
I was just saying I could relate for sure.
Yes. So I made a goal of 30 days eating quote unquote clean. I didn't know at that time what that meant exactly. So I actually started just printing out recipes from this health website, and I actually put together a cookbook for myself, which is where actually my IG name came from, because I called my cookbook The Fat Girl's Guide to Healthy Living. Just because I'm kind of sarcastic and funny that way. But so I just started printing these recipes out, and I didn't work out until about 2 weeks in, because in 2 weeks I had seen changes. I felt more energetic just by eating more vegetables and more lean meats. And I wasn't eating out at all. I was making my lunch every day for work. I was cooking meals every night. We were trying new foods. And I still really knew nothing about calorie deficits or macros or reading labels. And so Google is your friend. And
yes,
so I just Googled everything. That's literally how I learned, how to read labels, serving sizes. I quit eating out, and that was kind of the first 30 days of my journey.
Right.
And in that first 30 days, I had dropped 16 pounds, which was most likely fluid, as we know.
Yeah, but still awesome.
But it was a push to keep going.
Yeah.
So I started learning a lot more. I started reading labels. I started trying new foods. I mean, I'm from the South, Gary, so we eat fried food and potatoes at every meal.
Hell yeah.
So, I was not eating fried foods. I was eating all these vegetables that I had never even tasted my whole life. I mean, like, up until last year, I had never had asparagus. I had never had green beans. I had never had, Brussels sprouts. I mean, like, just things that, like, I was like, no, ew, that's gross, and just started kind of working all that stuff in. And, that was kind of like where I started and, kind of why I started. And then after about 30 days, I started just walking. I mean, when people ask, what can I do to lose weight? What kind of exercises? You know what you can do? You can start walking.
Yes.
Just start walking. And like when I first started, I could probably not even make it a half mile. Like, I was just exhausted. My feet hurt. Like I felt like, oh, this is too hard. And there were many days at the beginning, especially, where I was like, I can't do this. Like, this is too hard. Like, I'm too far gone. Which I think a lot of people think, a lot of people think that, like, I'm too far gone. There's no help for me. And it's just making those small changes, and that can change your whole life. Like, you post it all the time. Small changes add up.
Absolutely.
And it's true, because it doesn't have to, you don't have to overthink weight loss. And I think that's where a lot of problems come in, is that people really overthink it,
Yeah.
and it's just move more and eat a calorie deficit, like burn more calories than you're eating, and boom, and I mean, looking back now, and now that I know, how many calories are in things, I'm sad to say, but I feel like, before this journey started, I had to have been eating anywhere from 3,500 on up calories a day.
Yeah.
And because, it's really something that should be taught in school, because you don't realize sometimes what you're putting into your body and the effect that it's having. And I have a pretty sedentary job. And so I would be sitting at my desk, and those huge, and I'm talking about those huge bags of M&Ms that have the Ziploc.
Oh yeah.
I would go through a bag of those in a day and a half.
Wow.
Just mindlessly eating stuff, just going through drive-thrus and getting milkshakes and, burgers and fries and just all the stuff, which I still have from time to time, by the way.
Of course.
But I was having that every day for possibly 2 or 3 meals a day. And so now I know, okay, that in itself can have anywhere from 800 to 1,500 calories in one setting.
Oh yeah. It's a lot.
So, I mean, it's just, I think a lot of times we don't realize, and it's just, it's unfortunate that, we're not taught that in school. I feel very passionately, if you can't tell, about health now, because, I come from an overweight family, and I don't want to pass those traits down, the bad eating habits and things like that, to my children. Like, I want them to realize, like, yeah, you can still have a cookie. Yeah, you can still have a piece of cake. Don't have the whole cake. Don't have the whole pack of cookies. Don't sit there and mindlessly eat because you're bored.
Yeah.
Which is what I did a lot. I would just eat because I was bored, or because I was depressed, or, those types of things. So, that was kind of how I got started. And, and then finally joined a gym in May of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And knew absolutely nothing. I mean, literally would go in, get on the treadmill, and leave, because I had no idea of anything else to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and that was a whole other can of worms. But I finally was like trained on how to do certain things, and what I like and what I don't like. And if I'm being honest, I do not like cardio. I do not enjoy cardio. Cardio is the devil. But I'm learning to embrace it a little bit more than I have in the past. But I mean, I'm more of a weight. I love to weight lift. That's my happy place. I love doing it. It's fun. I feel strong. And it keeps that calorie burn alive well after you leave the gym, which is also good.
Definitely. And I just want to go back a little bit to what you were saying earlier about how, you started in the kitchen first, and then you started just basically walking. And this is like stuff that I've talked about. I've just wanted to like scream it from the rooftops about just starting out just so simple, because I know so many people do it. I'm guilty of this, where I've had times where I've started a journey and you go, for lack of a better term, balls to the wall, crazy, guns a-blazing.
Right.
And you burn yourself out so fast. And so when you're sitting here telling me about how you started and how slow you started out, like I love that. Like, I'm just like, I want people, I love that you've said it now, because people will listen and maybe they'll think less of, oh, Gary's just talking out of his ass. And it's like, no. Here's a cool lady who actually did this very thing, and look at all the weight she's lost. Look at how happy she is. Look at how healthy she is. Look how awesome she is. And there you go. I mean, it's not just me talking. This is like real proof right here. Put that Instagram name out there again for the people so they can go look and see all this proof right here.
It's the Fat Girl's Guide to Healthy Living, LIVIN, no G.
No G. What
I
do you
mean,
got against a G? I'm Gary. Like, what do you got against a G?
well, that name is long enough, and I probably should change it at this point. But I'm like, everyone already knows me. It's fine. But I mean, you're exactly right though, because I have some friends that reach out from time to time, going, "Oh, I wish I could do what you're doing," but they don't realize they see me what I'm doing now.
Oh yeah,
and I'm like, no, you need. The easiest thing to do is to start slow and start in the kitchen. Change your eating habits. I promise anyone who's listening, if you will make those changes in the kitchen first, you will see the weight drop, even if you never work out.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, it starts there, and the workout is just a bonus for me at this point. That just, like I said earlier, it makes me feel better. But I mean, it's just changing those eating habits and being aware, like mindfully eating is what I like to say, because like I said too, a lot of times we're eating out of boredom, or you're eating because you're thirsty. You're dehydrated.
Oh yeah. Drink that water.
I think drink that water. I think a lot of people mistake, hunger for thirst. Like, you're actually just thirsty. Your body's telling you, hey, give me some water. So it's just, it sounds, a lot of people see it as overwhelming. And at first it was a little overwhelming, but I think the more, like we both said, Google is your friend. Like, you can learn a lot. You can follow awesome accounts on Instagram. There's so many outlets out there now to learn about, the right way to lose weight. And I say the right way because there's so many different kind of trendy things to do, and scams, and, body wraps, and that, and the other. And and it's just, that's not the route to go. You want something that is sustainable for the rest of your life, because this is not something I'm doing until I get down to where I feel the healthiest. This is something I intend to do until I die.
There you go.
I want to live this same life because I'm happier and I feel better and I have a lot of energy and I can keep up with my children. And there's just so many, I could go on and on and on about, non-scale victories that I've experienced over the last, year and 10 months. So, it just, start small and build on that.
Amen. Just drop the mic right there. You just set this place ablaze. I love it. Got to get you on here more often just to hype the people up, because I can't do it justice anymore. You just drop the mic and a blaze just set.
Well, and here's a quote too that one of my friends actually said to me early on, and I still have this in the back of my mind. And she had said, when you're eating, you're either feeding disease or you're fighting it.
Right.
So if you're choosing to eat this crappy food every day, all day, you're feeding disease. If you're making better choices, then you're trying your best to fight it, and not to say that I don't splurge. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I had pizza this weekend and it was awesome.
Was it?
But the thing is like, for me personally, it's all about balance. And I knew from the get-go I wasn't going to go the rest of my life and never have a piece of red velvet cake because it's my favorite. And I knew I wasn't going to go the rest of my life and not have a Reese's cup because that's also my favorite. So I've just learned how to, if I want one of those things, I just work it into my day somehow. And, I'm not going to have a whole bag. I'm going to have one, It's just it's a mindset change that really has to happen. It really has to click with you, or I feel like you won't be successful in the long term.
Oh, definitely. I know, one of my biggest things, you've probably heard this on a podcast before, and I won't go into great detail, but one of my things I used to do was stop at the drive-thru every day.
Right.
And sometimes if I wasn't going through that drive-thru, I was going through like a Dairy Queen or something like that. And I would always get like whatever the biggest one they had with extra toppings and all that stuff. And there have been a couple of times where I've had like a really like just an awful day. And, this is like once in a blue moon as far as like, when this would happen, but I'd stop at that Dairy Queen or whatever. And instead of getting that large with the extra toppings, I would get the smallest one they had, or like the kid size. So it's like, it's not a perfect answer to the problem, but it's, I'm still getting that taste a little bit, and it's not going to do a lot of damage. It's not going to like hinder an entire week or month's worth of progress. It's one little tiny cup that it's just like, so there are ways around it where you can make it work at times, just like with the candy and all that stuff. Nobody has to you could be crazy like me and do a no chocolate for a year challenge, or no pizza for a year challenge.
That is insane, Gary.
Right? Great. You're like the 500th person to tell me this. This is great. I feel wonderful about my decisions.
But we all have like our personal goals, it's there's different paths for everyone. You and I both know we follow people that do keto or plant-based, or, or, they've had gastric bypass, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there's different paths, and everyone uses different tools to get to their finish line, quote unquote. And that's great. But just for me personally, I know myself. I know that I am going to, have a donut, or I know that I'm going to have whatever it is for the day. And that may happen once every couple of weeks. It may not happen for 2 months. It just, whenever, like you say, whenever kind of the mood hits, sometimes you're like, ooh, I would really like to have XYZ, and I'm going to go have it. Because if you're not doing things like that consistently, like you say, it's not going to hinder your progress. I've not went to the gym before for 2 straight weeks, and it didn't set me back any,
Right.
It's just truly learning moderation and balance and all those fun words that we like to throw around.
Oh yeah. I talked about this on the podcast last week with Amber Dietz Diaries, about, not chasing just a number, but just, chasing happiness and making sure that your mental and physical well-being, that you're happy, and not just chasing after numbers. And if you stop chasing after the numbers, then you can, I think ultimately your mindset on things is going to be so much better. You're not going to be wanting to quit.
Well, and it's like, I was thinking today about this year, because last year, at the end of the year, I had lost 81 pounds in a year.
That's awesome.
And I had lost 70 inches.
Wow.
And so I felt so successful at the end of last year. I just felt like on top of the world, like, I'm so proud of myself. This is great. Like, I'm awesome, just really feeling myself. And then this year rolled around, and my body has been more like, nope. And so it's kind of been a weird year for me, because this year I've lost about like 12 pounds, I guess. I'm up to like about 91, 92 pounds lost. And, but I'm actually up to 86 inches lost now. So I'm making progress, but the scale is not going to show you all the progress. And I'm going to have a confession.
Okay.
We're going to have a little confession time.
Let's do it.
So I get really frustrated sometimes scrolling through the gram, because I see people just solely relying on the scale.
Yes.
And that scale is not telling you everything. It's not, you may have extra fluid. You may need to go take a poo.
You started selling me.
There's just so many different like factors in fluctuations. For instance, to use myself as an example, last week I was up 8 pounds all week, and I was kind of like, this is kind of weird, but like, I didn't get like depressed about it. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, I know I didn't gain 8 pounds of fat, that would be impossible based on what I'm eating. So like, I just let it go, like whatever. And by the weekend, boom, it was gone. So it was water, it was whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And, I get really frustrated because I'm like, I kind of want to, like you, I kind of want to get up on my little soapbox and scream and be like, don't rely on the scale. The scale lies. The scale is not the final, like the final word on your progress. Like, you preach consistency all the time. And that's the thing. That's the big key is like, just keep doing what you're doing and you will see the progress, whether it be in inches or on the scale or how much more energy you have or whatever it is. Like, you are making progress. You may just not always physically see the number on the scale that you want to see.
Yes.
And I think that's super, super important for people that are just starting out because, like I said, last year, I'm dropping massive weight. I'm dropping 16 pounds in a month, 8 pounds in a month. And then this year, I'm like 1 pound, 1.4 pounds. And I'm like, I could let that get me down. And I could say, you know what? I'm throwing in the towel. I quit. I'm done with this. Like, and it would be easy for me to do if I got in that mindset of the scale is the final word. But to me now, I see, progress as far as, I'm so energetic and I don't come home tired and lethargic and I come home ready to go hit the gym. I feel great. I feel accomplished. And, if the scale doesn't move, the scale doesn't move, but I feel better. So that to me is what's most important. And I actually need to take my goal weight off my Instagram because it struck me a couple days ago that I no longer have a goal weight. It's going to be whenever I feel like I'm my healthiest. And that number may not be the number that I have up there right now. That number may be higher. That number could be lower. I don't know. But it's going to be whenever I feel like, you know what, this is it. This is where I feel good. I feel great. I feel great physically and, and just let it roll. Like, I think we get way too caught up in the numbers game on things.
You cannot see me right now, but I wish you could. I am just grinning from ear to ear. All of the stuff that I talk about, all of these things. And here you are, you're living it and you're successful. And I'm just like, yeah, here we go. Like, I can't get a doctor to wipe this smile off my face right now. Like, you are saying all the things that I just believe to be true. And you're backing it up with actual facts of like, this is how I've lived and this is the results I've seen. And it's like, this is possible, people. This is reality. You got to go get a reality check on this.
Yeah. And it's really funny because when I actually spoke with my physician, he said, what are you doing to lose the weight? And I said, I'm just eating a balanced diet and I'm exercising and that's it. And he was like, so you're not doing any kind of diet plan? And I was like, no. And he goes, good. And he said, I try to scream this to people all the time. He was like, and no one listens because everyone wants that quick fix.
Oh yeah.
That I want to drop 20 pounds in a month. Okay. That's not realistic. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe in your first month when you're dropping water weight or something.
Yeah. I mean, that's not the normal person. I'm not saying it can't happen because I have seen, some Instagrammers that have lost crazy amount of weight in a year. I mean, if more power to them, but that's not typical. And I don't want people to look at my account. I really want my account to be very truthful and forward about my struggles. And hey, guys, I'm going through some horrible anxiety right now. Like, I just don't feel like going to the gym. Like, it happens to all of us. Like, if we're putting on that front of, everything's great and I'm losing massive weight and like, I love going to the gym. And for the most part, I do love going to the gym, but not every day is a great day. Let's be real,
Sure. Yeah.
We all have our struggles and we all have challenges we face. And, it's a lot harder than I think a lot of people let on. It's not always easy. Like I said, this year has been kind of a struggle, and it would have been super easy for me to say, screw this, I'm done.
Oh yeah.
But I've made up my mind, and I turn 40 next year. And so my goal has always been to be in the best shape as I can possibly be by the time I turn 40.
You don't even look close to 40. Stop lying.
I actually will turn 40 in June, Gary, believe it or not.
I'm calling BS.
I wish you were right. Trust me. I mean, it's kind of unbelievable when I think about it. I'm like, there's no way I can be 40. I don't feel 40.
Yeah. You're probably feeling even younger than you did when you were in your early 30s or late 20s. You probably feel way better.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I started out at 330 pounds, and it's so weird. And I don't know if you can relate, but like when you look back at those pictures, it's almost like I didn't see myself that large.
Yeah.
Like when I see those pictures, I think, I don't recognize that person. And then on the flip side of that, when I look in the mirror right now, I don't recognize this person. So it's such a catch. It's such a catch-22. But I mean, I will forever be thankful that I had the courage to just change my life, because like you say, there's just no better feeling than to wake up and feel like, oh my gosh, like I can go for a 7.5 mile walk. I can go hike. I can ride a roller coaster, if you will.
Yeah, that's right. We're getting closer, folks. You see, we're an hour in now. She's changing her whole tune here.
So, I mean, it's definitely been a crazy year. I mean, earlier in the year, I had my gallbladder out, and so that sidelined me for 6 weeks of exercise. And so it's been a challenging year, but I'm like, no matter how long it takes, I'm in it to win it. I mean, I'm not giving up. I may have weeks where things just don't go my way. I can't get to the gym, or, maybe I have fast food and it sucks. And then I feel like crap afterwards. I don't know if I'm the only one, but like now when I eat that stuff, I feel kind of sick. Like I actually feel kind of like physically ill when I eat it.
I don't think you're alone at all.
Yeah, it's such a weird, I mean, it's just a weird process in general, like how just everything changes in your life. Everything from the way you look at life, having more excitement about things, having more energy, to, the way you are around your friends and family. It really changes. It changes everything. It's not just a physical change. It changes everything.
That's so true. Before we wrap up, and again, I really want to say thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Tell me about how you got connected to this great community on Instagram.
Well, I started, let's see, I think I had been on my health journey for maybe about 5 months. And right. I thought last year around May or so, I thought, it would be really cool if I just started kind of like a personal, quote unquote, diary, just documenting everything that I'm doing, and really had no intention of like making it public, just left it public. And all of a sudden I had all these followers and new friends, and was just embraced into this new community. And it's been awesome. I mean, when I've had bad days, like you guys are always there to be like encouraging and supportive. And I've met some awesome friends through Instagram, and I love watching, other people's journeys, and, gaining tips from them. And, hopefully you can share some tips that I have. And, it's just it's a fun way to just interact with each other about seeing where we're all at and stuff. And, I never meant to be a part of a community.
Yeah.
But I just really started it as a, just, like a Dear Diary type thing. This is what I did today. This is what I ate today. So I could go back and look and see the progress that I had made, because it's so easy to not recognize your own progress.
Definitely.
Because you're in it. And, I was telling a friend today, I said, I look in the mirror sometimes and I still see the 330-pound girl. And they said, how? And I said, well, it's actually a thing. I was like, it's just, you've lived in that body so long. And so it's just, I think Instagram's a fun way to interact with everyone else. And, getting to meet people that you've become close to is so awesome. And, hoping to fly out to Vegas next year to meet who I would absolutely call my best friend forever. Her name is Brandy, and she's in the weight loss community as well. And she is awesome. And, it's just funny, the friendships that you make. And sometimes you've never met face to face, but you just connect with people on such a high level because we understand each other's pain. We've all been there, and we can all relate to each other in some fashion. So I really have enjoyed being on there for the last year and a half. It's been really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we got connected. Do you remember how we got connected, you and I?
I want to say, I think it might have been when I became friends with Emily, Emma's The Biggest Loser.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think that might have been how we were connected, because I know that you and Daryl were doing a lot of podcasts at that time, still are, of course.
Yes.
And I think I started listening to your podcast through Emily, who had mentioned Daryl. So I think that was kind of how I discovered you.
I see. Yeah, I actually went back in our DMs and you shared a podcast back in August of 2018. There you go.
Oh, okay. So yay, my memory's not fading yet.
It's definitely not fading. So no, that's awesome. And yeah, I love this community. I love that it brings us all together. I love just saying, hey, Tammy, let's jump on a phone call. We've never spoken, but let's just jump on a phone call hour and 10 minutes later. And I feel like we're just totally buddies now, like as if we weren't before.
Yeah.
We're more so now. So I think this is great. The community brings us all together. And and one more time, give the people your Instagram handle. I know I'm going to put it in the notes and stuff, but just one more time for the people.
Okay, it's The Fat Girl's Guide to Healthy Living, LIVIN.
Yeah, drop the G because she has something against G.
I have to start calling you Airy, apparently.
Apparently, something like that, yeah. Well, Tammy, thank you so much. I mean, again, you took time away from the gym to hang out with me today, and it means a lot to me. Thank you so much for hanging out on the podcast.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me, Gary. I appreciate it.
Remember at the beginning of the show, I mentioned a little thing called Patreon? Well, I'd love to have you join me. But Gary, what is Patreon? It's a website that is helping small creators like me raise funds to further expand their creative visions. For as low as $1 a month, you can help me further my dream of reaching as many people as possible and eventually taking the show on the road to meet all these fine people face to face and add a video element to this podcast. If you were to donate $4 a month, you'd be hearing this show a few days earlier with no commercials and getting access to my close friends group on Instagram. Donate $10 a month and you get all that plus your name right at the beginning of the show alongside other producers, but act fast. That tier is limited to 10 people. I've got a whole lot more to offer and you can get all the details over at patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Thanks so much for checking out the show and I'll talk to you again really soon. hardworkalwayswins.com. It's more than just a clothing line. It's my mantra. I speak it, I wear it, I live it, and I'd love to have you join the Hard Work Squad. We're constantly adding new items to the store, including our brand new Future-ish hats, which come in a variety of colors, including camo. I mean, who doesn't like camo? We also just put our famous Splash logo in gold to match our OG logo, and there's so much more here. You just got to check it out. Here's the best part. Use the code PODCAST at checkout to take 10% off of your very first order and join the Hard Work Squad today.